welcome to a Spotlight Extra. We're here in the Baum Gallery to talk with Director of the Baum, Brian Young, my friend, about the current exhibit, The Baum at 25, and it's amazing. Brian, welcome back to Spotlight. It's been a long time.
Thanks for having me. Great to be on.
So tell us about this whole idea, and we're going to see some of the pieces that are on display. Tell us how this came about, how you planned it, what got picked, and that kind of stuff.
So the idea is that, of course, 25th anniversary is always kind of a big deal for a lot of people, and we thought it was a good excuse to bring people back and recognize the fact that the Baum is in its 25th year. Hard to believe for a lot of people. But more than anything, I think the exhibition is a really good reason to reinforce to our students that what it takes to be a professional artist. Everybody in this exhibition is working in the field still. That's really the important part, that if you want to make it as a BA, BFA student, graduate and go on and have a career in the field, these people can set that example. And that was really the idea. It's not so much about nostalgia. It sounds that way based on the title, but it's really about a path that you can continue to work.
So this has been in the works for a couple of years?
Yeah, probably so.
And so did you solicit to all the alum? I mean, tell us about the selection process.
So with a lot of the exhibitions we do, I went back to the faculty, the tenured faculty, and I said, you know, who's still in the field? Who's still working? It wasn't about who's your favorite students or whose work did you like as a junior or sophomore. It's who do you know that's still working? And then in addition to that, I want representation in every field that we teach. So it can be printmaking, sculpture, graphic design, painting, fiber, and so on.
And so how many names did you start with?
Well, we start with the entire alumni list for the BA, BFA program. You know, that's on an Excel spreadsheet and you can look up everybody. And then we, you know, kind of narrowed it down to the last 25 years, obviously. And then we tried to look at every medium and then kept narrowing it down, and then got solicitations from all the tenured faculty and also what can fit and what works and you know, those kind of decisions.
And so how many alumni are in here now?
25.
There are
25. 25
okay.
at 25.
25 at 25, okay.
Yep.
And were they thrilled? I'm sure that they were thrilled to be asked to contribute?
Yeah, I think everybody was. And we also had a little bit of the idea that, I remember, you know, we had a couple of small mini reunions at the reception, so it was fun that people got to see each other and some of them know of each other. And so, yeah, it was kind of a small family kind of affair.
I bet. And Morton Brown, one of my old friends, was one of the early alums who's tell us about his work that's here.
Now, what's kind of funny is that I knew Morton going back to 1997.
Before you got here?
Before I got here, when I was at the Arkansas Art Center, and Morton worked for me when I was the curator and he was a preparator.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I knew him back then, and so when this show was taking shape, I knew that he was in Pittsburgh and he was doing murals and he was part of a public arts project. So he was one of the first people I called. So
that's great.
Yeah, and he's got a few pieces here that are studies for murals, and then one freestanding work that he's done recently.
So some of the works that they have exhibited here were not necessarily made for this.
In fact, right.
Most of it. Okay.
In fact, I did not solicit work that they made as students.
Okay.
I wanted work that was made after they graduated, once they established themselves as artists, and so that was the idea. Again, it wasn't about nostalgia, about who we liked or who we knew. It was really about who represents UCA moving forward as a professional in the field, and then what are they doing now? Not everything, though, is new, not everything that's created, but everything is in this exhibition is created post-graduation for these artists.
So Morton was one of the early alums.
Yeah.
There are also some later alums, recent
Yeah.
alums.
Yeah.
Tell us about, is it Jim Stovall?
Yeah, Jim Stovall, non-traditional student, and he did the large bronze class ring
I love it. I just saw
Yeah.
it coming in, yes.
and the Maltese falcon.
Okay, oh,
Falcon, yes. So anyway, yeah, so he's a student of sculpture and does representational work, and I just thought there's a place for that as well. I know that a lot of people think contemporary art is conceptual, moving forward, fast-paced, but he's like an old school craftsman, and I thought there was a place for that as well, and love that.
and he was a non-traditional student.
Yeah.
And he's graduated and he's now working in art.
Yeah, so he has a website and he does,
Oh, great.
you know, kind of commissions for realist work. And yeah, I think, gosh, I apologize, Jim, but I think he's in his 70s. So not your traditional.
Yeah, and
Graduate.
good for Jim.
Yeah, good for him, of course.
This is great.
Yeah.
And what about this piece? We talked earlier with Brian Massey. This looks like a Brian Massey piece, and it's one of his proteges.
Yeah, so it's Hunter Brown, and his niche is that he does large scale, mostly commercial outdoor sculpture. So I thought his work would kind of shine in this
Yeah.
open space,
Yeah.
and I can't thank him enough actually for, you know, when you have people who work in large scale like this, they have the ability to just make it happen. He's one of those people that said, I'll bring it, you know, I'll take care of it.
And
that's-
so, what does this weigh?
this weighs a couple hundred pounds. It's mostly hollow.
Okay.
But
Not as
you
much
probably
as I thought
couldn't
it would
carry
be.
it yourself, but with some help, you might be able to, you know, get it off the ground.
So, what are some other highlights, Brian, of the show here? I mean, you got to come see it all because it's really good.
Right. I mean, Jason McCann's large-scale portraits, pastel work, you know, are really quite striking, and they kind of lead you in. Louise Mandumbois is a recent graduate. She does, again, realist work. She has one drawing in the show. One of my predecessors at the Baum, Barbara Satterfield, has 4 ceramic vessels, which I like. Kristen Spickard, who's still
Yes.
with UCA, has fiber pieces. There's photography. And then we also have, you know, artists in residence, Lily Cunin, and she has her own solo exhibition, and she does, you know, multimedia, kind of whimsical work. You know, so fiber works on the floor, kind of paintings, sculptural work, playful, I think they're called paintings. So yeah.
So, Brian, so tell us the dates and hours of the show. How long is this up?
So the exhibition is open until October 15th.
Okay.
We're open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. with extended hours on Thursday until 7 p.m.
Okay, and it's free. You can come
Free,
in. It's
yeah.
wonderful. So, Brian, how have you survived the last 18 months? What effect did the pandemic have on the Baum?
A couple of things. One was that there was a slight budget cut, like a lot of you know, spaces at the university. So we had to manage that, and we had to manage trying to make people feel comfortable. So we did spacing. You know, we did mask requirements, and we tried to encourage safety and people to visit, you know, safely. We also had to have a reckoning with the idea that coming to an art museum is not a necessity, and that's also kind of more of a mental or emotional challenge more than a physical one.
Yeah.
And there's a reckoning there about, you know, how important is it? And then there's also the aspect that if the Baum isn't open, then what are the students missing out on? And it's not just this place, it's also other...
Everywhere, yeah.
Everywhere, right? So we felt it was important to stay open safely, though, and to welcome people, but not encourage crowds. So there's a balancing act.
Fine
It truly
line.
is that, right?
Yeah.
So we're kind of proud of the fact that we stayed open, but we stayed open safely. At least I think we did. So
That's great. And now that things are beginning to open back up, people are coming back in droves, right? Because they missed it.
Yeah. It's part of the student experience, you know. I'm not going to say it's the same as sporting events, but it's just part of the fabric of being a student and having these things available, so that whether it's going out to eat, going to football game, or not, it's part of the fabric of choices, of things you can do when you're not attending class. And so I think, like every space on campus, we're struggling, embracing what it means to be open and what it means to welcome people and all of that. It's kind of confusing, but yeah.
It's weird times that we hadn't thought about. So
I think so.
So what's up for the Baum the rest of the semester?
So of course, then we have our fall BA, BFA, and that's, you know, twice, once in the fall, once in the spring. Our student exhibition as a requirement to graduate with a BA, BFA.
So did all of these exhibitors exhibit in the student BA,
yes.
BS? Yeah.
I am almost certain of it. Maybe there's some exception I don't know about.
But by and large,
yes.
Okay.
So they've all been here.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, you know,
that's neat.
It's kind of a homecoming again of sorts. And then in the spring, we're going to do an exhibition of painting, and we're kind of finishing that up. But we haven't had a traditional painting show.
It's been a long now.
It's been
now
a
that
few
I think
years.
about it,
right?
Yeah.
Right. And what's kind of funny about that is, if you think about what it is to be a traditional museum, whether it's the Louvre or the Met, we always go back to painting, right? That's always the default. And so to think that we haven't had a traditional painting show in a few years, maybe several, is kind of surprising, even for me, you know.
So tell me about that show. Is it a particular artist, or is it?
It's going to be kind of an invitational, multi-artist, largely regional, but also reaching out a little bit, realist, tonalist, abstract, local.
Oh, great. And when will that be?
That will be in March. I forget the exact.
Next spring.
Yeah.
Next spring. And we'll talk more about that as we get closer.
No, yeah.
So
actually, I'm sorry, end of January, excuse me.
So in the spring, late winter, early spring.
Yes.
So, and so how many paintings that will be a big, because there, I mean, you can have them everywhere, right?
Right.
So talk about that.
Well, the idea also is that you do want to give space to work.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you don't crowd things. It's not going to be like salon style.
Right.
So we're probably going to have about 10 or 15 artists in final,
Which is more than except for this show.
Yes.
More than a typical show, maybe.
Yes.
So okay, great. And so the painting exhibit, and then the student show in the spring, and then you're already planning for next year, right?
Right. And then we'll also have the annual student art competitive.
Oh, that's right.
Yep. And
in the spring, right?
Yep. And then we'll have again the spring BA, BFA, and so it goes.
So essentially 3 shows a semester at the Baum.
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, Brian, we're looking forward to being back. What effect, we've talked to Brian Massey about the new building. What effect will that have on you? I mean, the Baum is staying here.
The Baum's staying here, but what happens, I can't speak for the whole college and the art and design department, but what's going to happen though, I think naturally, is an elevation of expectations across the board. That's going to bring in stronger students. That's going to bring more attention to the art and design department. And as a result, it's going to bring more attention to the Baum Gallery. So the expectations are going to go up. The quality of the student work is bound to go up. And
it's pretty good already.
Yeah, right, of course. So the other thing too is that because the Wingate has been so generous to other universities statewide, arts education is going to improve, get increased attention, and it's going to become part of kind of like the fabric. you know, of the education programs, not just of UCA, but UALR, even in Fort Smith, Hendrix. So I think that, I don't think the full story's been written yet, but you asked about the Baum. I think that people can see kind of increased quality, consistency over time. I think that's gonna...
And the new gallery space will be smaller, am I right, in the new building?
Right, I think it's gonna be just under 1,000 square feet.
And what is it? What is this?
It's about, yeah, it's about that.
Okay.
But it's gonna have, I think, a smaller scale,
Okay.
you know? So, but, you know, if you think about, again, not to get too broad, but if you think about the fact that Hendrix now has a new space, we're going to add a space at the new Wingate plus this space. You can see just even in Conway that the attention to the visual arts and this idea of displaying work, you know, is going to just kind of grow. And it's not competitive. It's kind of like we're working together, you know? And I think it's going to be great to have that space there, and that will advertise for this space. And let's not forget, we also have art exhibitions at UCA downtown, right? So it's going to create this...
It's a synergy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of a synergy, a fabric that kind of expands, you know, and that's good. That's a really good thing.
It's an exciting time to be in art.
Yeah.
And at UCA and in Conway.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Great.
Yes.
Brian, thanks for joining us on
Thank
the
you, Donna.
Spotlight Extra. And we'll be back to see you again at a later show, okay?
I would love it. Thank you.
Join us again next time for Spotlight.